Just behind them now will be the Newcastle Knights, led out for the first time. Homegrown product, Mark Sargent leading the Newcastle Knights under the Sydney Football Stadium, where they were a couple of seasons ago in the semi-final. The fullback is Robbie O'Davis, the wingers Jamie Ainscoe and new boy Nathan Barnes, the centres Brad Godden and Russell Wire. The halves, the Johns brothers from Cessnock, Matthew and Andrew. The lock is Mark Glanville. The second row is Adam Muir and Tony Butterfield. And the front row, the Chief, Paul Harrigan, Robbie McCormick and Mark Sargent. Alan McMahon, South Sydney, their enthusiasm would be sky high.
Oh, so they'd be feeling 10 foot tall coming off their two-inch Challenge Cup. And Craig Field, certainly the man of the moment, and they'll be looking to him to continue that form for South to have a chance against Newcastle this afternoon.
Richard Jones, the battle of the halves should be an absolute beauty.
Yeah, my word it will be. Matthew Johnson, his brother Andrew joining him for the first time in the top grade. It's looking, the Knights need a very positive start and confident start for the 94 season. And I think they'll be too strong for South today at the Sydney Football Stadium.
And I know he'd rather be out in the middle about to kick off than on our sideline team this year, but we do welcome him with open arms. Matthew Rodwell, welcome to our commentary team. How do you see the game going this afternoon?
Thanks very much, Mike. The vibes in the dressing rooms, just before they went out, the boys were very confident of a solid start and a very good win today.
All right, we're underway here for season 1994 for both the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Newcastle Knights. Jeremy Doniger, the first take-up for the South Sydney side. And Skiffalidi, they're a dummy half, gives it out to Tony Mestrov, and he's met there with a wall of Newcastle Knights defence. They hold him down. Skiffalidi, a dummy half once again, and there's Hermanson takes it up. Looked as though he just spilt the ball there for a moment, but hung on to it. It's play on. Some pretty heavy stuff there at the moment, and as you would expect with the first few tackles of the game. South's working it out of their own half at the moment. Now it goes back to Field for the kick, and no one there either. But two of those South Sydney players, Shane Wilson, one of those, and Paul Mellor, definitely offside. Now it's play on, and Jamie Ainscoe takes it back for the Newcastle Knights, but some good defence. Very, very surprised, Alan McMahon, at the size of this crowd. After South's win in the Tooheys Challenge, I thought this place would be packed.
Yeah, it's a very, very small crowd, Mike, as you say, but interesting to note from South Sydney, they kicked it on tackle at the end of tackle 4. Now, whether that's going to be a ploy all the match or just to start the game off.
Some heavy defence there from South Sydney. Tyron Smith on Andrew Johns. Welcome to first grade.
Yeah, good stuff there, but he's straight back up on his feet, the young fella, and that's what he'll need to do. He'll be everywhere today.
That man that we just saw with the ball then, Matthew Rodwell, Paul Harrigan. Very little football in the last 6 months. It's going to be a testing time out there for the Chief.
That's right. I think David Wade will be looking to use his interchange very smartly tonight. Not only Chief, but also Adam Muir is under a bit of a fitness worry.
A great take there by Duncan McRae. And he caught that ball in his own end goal, and they'll get the restart from the 20. A good take, a young man. This fullback is big raps on him. He'd had a great Tooheys Challenge, Alan McMahon.
Yeah, well, that was surprisingly the Knights then finished their first set of 6 off with a high kick for him. Whether they've noted a weakness in his armoury, being weakness under the high ball or not, only time will tell this afternoon.
Skiffalidi comes to the members' side of the western side of the Sydney Football Stadium. Russell Wire there with a tackle for the Newcastle Knights. Mark Sargent over the top. Skiffalidi at dummy half once again. Good hands by Field. Short ball there to Goldspink. And he's wrapped up in a very, very good tackle there by Paul Harrigan. Hermanson running straight at Matthew Johns. The two little fellas, Matthew Johns and Robbie McCormick, the hooker for the Newcastle Knights. Bring him to ground just short of the halfway. Doniger makes a bit of a meal of it, but the Knights caught up inside. And South Sydney get the first penalty of the match. Early enthusiasm.
Well, South were in disarray, just completed disarray there right from the dummy half, and they were quite fortunate to get the penalty to get out of that, because that should have been a scrum had it not been for the penalty.
They really did make a bit of a meal of it, didn't they?
Oh, they were all over the place, yes.
But the Newcastle Knights were all caught offside, and South's fine touch now 20 metres out from the Newcastle Knights line. The first real attacking charge for South Sydney. Here's Doniger, a real star in the Tooheys Challenge. And the Knights caught up inside the 10 once again. Eddie Ward saying, get back. Let's hope he's consistent with that all day. And this gives South Sydney the first opportunity of points in the match here at the Sydney Football Stadium today. Here is the replay.
Yes, and if we notice, I think the touch judge on the other side, I think, has spoken into that flag and identified that they were, in fact, in front of the 10 metres.
The brains behind the South Sydney organisation on the right of screen, Alan Jones, Bob McCarthy in the middle, and former Newcastle boy, Kenny Shine.
It's certainly a coaching cast, isn't it?
Who is coaching South?
Good question.
It doesn't matter, they've got a trophy in their cabinet already in 1994. Craig Field doing the duties for South Sydney today. We'll bring you up to date with the lower grades scores in just a moment. We'll watch this kick as it comes off the mound there. Lower grade scores, let's have a look at them now. In reserve grade, the Newcastle Knights 20 defeated South Sydney 0. And in President's Cup, a good day so far for the Newcastle Knights, 22-16. Craig Field now, 21 out, 25 in from touch on the left-hand side of the uprights. Moves in, strikes it. It's a pretty ordinary looking old kick and it's waved away. So the first shot at goal here this afternoon has gone astray. Matthew, the wind conditions at ground level play a major part in today's factor, or not too much?
No, I don't think the wind will come into the game at all. It's swirling a little bit, but there's doesn't appear to be any favour to any team.
How are the new two boys for the Newcastle Knights, Nathan Barnes and Russell Wire, fitted in the pre-season?
Mate, they've trained very well all off-season and have rightly deserved their positions out there today.
South Sydney, Shane Wilson, he was a hit in the two, he's challenged two, bounces off 2 or 3, Adam Muir finally brings him to ground, 5 metres into the Newcastle Knights territory. Skiffalidi, he'll live at dummy half all day. Doniger taking up well, great tackle right around the ankles by Tony Butterfield. Great to see him back fully fit in first grade. Now they spin it out, David Penner cuts out one and Paul Mellor makes a bit of a mill of it. Jason Bell it was who threw the pass and Adam Muir comes up with the ball. Thought about throwing the pass there, but wisely hung on to it. They're 5 short of the halfway. Jamie Ainscough at dummy half. Now Paul Harrigan hits it up. And Skiffalidi a little high there. Chief drags 2 or 3 into South Sydney territory. Good run by the big front rower, Ainscough. Now Sargent. Can he work up a bit of pace? Runs straight into his opposite number in Brett Goldspink. McCormack. A very, very quick play the ball there by the Newcastle Knights. Butterfield hits it up. Smith drags him down. Good defence there by Tyron Smith for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. 28 out the Newcastle Knights. Now it's Matthew Johns gives it out to Adam Muir. Gets the ball away to Andrew Johns. Andrew Johns scampers a couple. Tyron Smith's got him and brings him down. 12 out from the South Sydney line. McCormack at dummy half. Matthew Johns now sights a little gap. Steps off the left and he's brought down 80 metres short. Last tackle now for the Newcastle Knights. Matthew Johns a little toe into the in-goal area. McRae is going to have to clean up. And he's trapped there. A good set of offensive 6 by the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, great. That's their second completed set of 6, and that would be pleasing the coach at the moment. And you can see what they've done. They've worked the ball all the way down the field, and now they've auctioned the ball by putting it in the in-goal area. Duncan McRae has no option to try and run it out. He's too far back, and as you see, Robbie McCormack and Matthew Johns take him over the dead ball line.
Richard Jones, there's been plenty of people who have touted for some time that Matthew Johns and Andrew Johns work well as a combination. We've seen it already in this match.
Yeah, they certainly do work together. I suppose it was only a matter of time that young Andrew got his chance. Unfortunately, to an injury as another penalty to our sideline commentator, Matty Rodwell. But it'll be interesting to see how the game pans out for the two brothers.
So the penalty given to the Newcastle Knights, and the Knights now, and that young man that we speak of, Andrew Johns, will step up to have his first shot at goal in first grade, or starting first grade, and he's about 28 metres out, nearly directly in front. Matthew Rodwell, you've seen the Johns brothers play a fair bit of footy together. They do work well as a combination, don't they?
They sure do. Playing together, I suppose, at home in the backyard during all those years growing up has certainly developed a very good combination, and so far they've worked quite well in these early stages, and I'll look forward to seeing how they work, especially when Matthew takes the ball to the line for Andrew to be there in support.
Andrew Johns now about to try and convert this penalty. 28 out, moves in, strikes it pretty well too. The touch judges haven't moved, and the first points of the afternoon in first grade go to the Newcastle Knights. They lead South Sydney 2 points to 0. So South Sydney underway.
Mike, we should measure here actually where the Knights catch this ball from, which is right on their goal line, to actually where they finish if they do on the 5th tackle, how far downfield they get. Now that's the first tackle, they're on the quarter.
A very, very good run by Tony Butterfield. Every time he's had the ball so far today, he's made yards.
Yeah, he just puts his head. The first few rucks are really telling the story for the Knights. They're getting a steam on. In that case there, Butterfield and Harrigan and Sargent are really creating some metres. As Alan said, look, they're up to the 40 now, the 50 now.
Tackle 4.
So in every tackle so far, they have broken the advantage line, and there is the penalty going to the Newcastle Knights, and Jeremy Doniger are being called out here for a little indiscretion that Eddie Ward has seen. Let's see if we can pick it up here. He drags Robbie McCormack to the ground, just laying all over the top, certainly not letting the player get up, and that was Tony Mestroff right over the top.
He's just testing the referee's patience. If you might remember the kick at goal from Matthew Johns, Andrew Johns rather, that was also an indiscretion in the play of the ball from the same person, Mr. Jeremy Donahue.
So Andrew Johns now finding touch, and he finds it about 21 metres out from the South Sydney line. Had a little bit of trouble with a chest plate, which has gone to the sideline for his emergent repairs. Mark Sargent, he's better when he gets a few yards back to big fella and able to run at the ball. Just caught short there a little bit. Pretty ordinary play. The ball, Paul Harrigan now steaming forward. Good position. Look at that. He's carried him another 4 or 5 metres. Paul Harrigan, they're inside the 10. Robbie McCormick at dummy half. Matthew Johns switches it back for Tony Butterfield. Flicked out to Andrew Johns. Can he get his arms free? He's got his whole body free. Still going Andrew Johns. Back to 10 metres out from the South Sydney line. The Newcastle Knights playing very good football at the moment. They go the short side. Mark Landville standing. Can he get his arms free? No, he can't. Brett Goldspink, the tackler. 5 out now. McCormick, a good pass to Andrew Johns. Now to Matthew Johns. Gives it to Paul Harrigan. Harrigan will score from there. Duncan McRae was never, ever going to stop the runaway chief. And Newcastle Knights get the first try of the afternoon. Some very, very good quick play the balls and good field position. Yeah, look, let's have a look at this pass that was served up to Paul Harrigan. And this put the try on, and Paul ran into the hole perfectly. It's played from Robbie McCormack across to Andrew Johns, across to his brother Matthew Johns there. Watch Matthew take it to the line. Watch Paul hit the hole. He's through. He's gone. And the fullbacks waited for him. He should have attacked Paul. He had no chance of stopping him. Good try. Good hole hitting from Paul Harrigan.
Absolute night there for Duncan McRae, but just watch Jason Bell just leaves the line a little bit, comes across from Andrew. Matthew Johns possibly waiting for the fade play, but Harrigan gets it in the line as the first receiver, and excuse me, Duncan McRae, I'm going to put this ball over the line. Good try and a good start to the Knights. Matthew Johns, very good positional play by the Newcastle Knights, and that quick play the ball on 2 or 3 occasions there where they were close to the 10-metre line, set that try up.
Yeah, let's take it back even further, actually, from the kick reception on their own line, Mike. They brought the ball up to the 4th tackles to their own half. They got a penalty. From the penalty, they went straight into attack, and just from that weight of possession, 6 points to the Knights. Matthew Johns, of course, I was talking about. And Andrew Johns gets 2 out of 2 here this afternoon. Matthew Rodwell, a good try to the Knights.
Yes, as Alan mentioned, it was good lead-up work by Newcastle, particularly off that tap. They waited to the 4th tackle until they put on a bigger play than what they had previously, and it came up with a good try.
So the Newcastle Knights leading 8 points to 0, 12 minutes gone in this first half of season 1994 for both clubs. Jamie Corcoran, the restart for South Sydney. And again, let's keep an eye on how far the Newcastle Knights can take the ball out from their own line. Tony Butterfield. And that's better defence by South Sydney. Corcoran it was, the person who kicked off. Robbie O'Davis. Mark Landville with the ball with the Knights. Hermanson the tackler. Mestroff over the top. Adam Muir. Had a great Nissan Sevens tournament before being injured. Has only had a little bit of football in the pre-season. Robbie McCormack. The lad from Inverell. They call them off. Matthew Johns scampers away from dummy half. Steps off right and left. Last tackle for the Newcastle Knights, and they're in South Sydney territory. Andrew Johns now with the kick. Not trying to find touch. Just trying to put some players on. McRae under a little bit of pressure from Jamie Ainscough. Oh, and a great run, a great chase by Jamie Ainscough.
It was a terrific kick. Well placed. It found the grass. It bounced. It bought time for Jamie Ainscough, who chased with plenty of vigour, lifted up the fullback and took him back another couple of metres.
South now trying to all right, nearly through the gap there was David Penner. Now it's Jason Bell, formerly of Parramatta. Got his arms free to Craig Field. Field now, trying to link up with his outside backs, couldn't do so. Hermanson gave the ball away to Goldspink. The Knights should come up with possession, and they do through Matthew Johns. South panicked a little bit there. Harrigan throws the pass to Glanville. Glanville stands, pushes off one, makes it to the 20 metres. Newcastle Knights really in attacking mode here at the moment. The Knights will think this is Christmas come early. If South continually make those mistakes in their own half, they'll get punished for this. Paul Harrigan doing plenty of work in the first half. McCormack gives it to Sargent. Sargent's nearly through. He's going to score himself. And the captain of the Newcastle Knights, Mark Sargent, with brute strength, got across the line. Now we'd better check that pass. It looked marginal, but Robbie McCormack doing some great work. And Mark Sargent across the line for the Newcastle Knights' second try. Yeah, let's watch Robbie take the ball from dummy half. It's a good play of the ball. He runs wide. He brings Mark onto the ball. That was perfectly fine.
And Mark's hit it with pace. And as you see with Mark Sargent, when he hits the ball with pace, he's a handful. He's one of the most damaging runners in the game.
Well, Duncan McRae's had a shocker. In the space of 5 minutes, he's confronted two of the biggest men in league. Good short ball. Again, just committing the line. Robbie McCormack, good play out, and Sarge, well, he was never ever not going to score from there. Great try again.
Inexperience from Duncan McRae. He's got to attack them there. He hasn't got the real estate to fall behind on. He's got to come forward and try and attack those invaders.
Matthew Rodwell, a lot of league pundits was saying that the Newcastle Knights' foundation against the South Sydney Rabbitohs was going to be in their forwards, and the two front rowers have got to meet by a piece.
They sure have. Both Chief and Sarge will be very pleased with that come about 4:40 this afternoon. But the way Robbie McCormack got up over the advantage line from dummy half was what led to that try.
Andrew Johns now trying to convert the Mark Sargent try. Right on the 20-metre line. Moves in, strikes it. The touch judges go to the left, and it's through. And Andrew Johns has 3 out of 3, and the Newcastle Knights race away to a 14-0 lead. So after 15 minutes, the Newcastle Knights lead 14 points to 0, and it's been able to be achieved by the tremendous sets of 6 in offence that they've put on so far.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the yardage, this is yardage. This is when you're in your own line. You don't want mistakes, and you want to play the ball quick, come forward quick, and bring the ball as close as you can to the halfway. And as we've seen on a couple of occasions, the Knights are getting past halfway in these yardage sets.
Paul Harrigan. They've had a tremendous amount of the possession in this first half. Tony Butterfield thought about the pass to Andrew Johns, wasn't there. Robbie McCormack now gives it to Mark Sargent, takes on the defence. Last tackle now coming up for the Newcastle Knights. Robbie McCormack, and it's knocked down by South Sydney, and South's in possession. No, it's a knock on by South Sydney, so the Newcastle Knights will get the feed and the ball back. So everything going Newcastle's way at the moment, Richard Jones.
Yeah, a little bit of opportune play there, but the Knights, they forced the issue. Robbie took the option. He ducked in behind the marker. Kick was charged down, but unfortunately knock on for South.
Referee Eddie Ward wants the ball in again. Win to the Newcastle Knights. Matthew John straight through the hole, the step off the right. Bradley Godden with one of his first touches of the day. Andrew Johns from dummy half. Turns it back inside to Paul Harrigan. Flicks the ball out to Robbie O'Davis. Loves this ground. Has scored some great points here. 2 tries against Western Suburbs in that 92 semi-final. Adam Muir is nearly all the way through. Standing, trying to get his arms free to deliver the pass. Couldn't do so. Mark Landville at dummy half now. Matthew Johns sights a little gap. Steps off left and right. Gets his arms free to Mark Landville. Throws the dummy. Still going Mark Landville. Now he's held up by Tyron Smith. Last tackle for the Newcastle Knights. Souths are short on the left. Doesn't matter. Andrew Johns pops the field goal, and she's over, and the Newcastle Knights lead 15 points to 0. A bit of individual flair, Alan McMahon.
Yeah, that'll be demoralising for South. Every time the Knights have visited South's quarter, they've come away with a point. Now what we've got to find, probably one of the best parts of South's games, their kickoffs. They've been long and deep, but unfortunately it's the other parts of the game that's letting them down. And as we'll see, the Knights will probably catch this ball on their own in goal, on their own in goal line, return the favour, bring the ball back to the other quarter.
Matthew Rodwell, player coming off from South Sydney, doesn't look too fit at all.
No, Dean Skiffolitti in a lot of trouble there, and Paul Quinn, number 40, has gone on to replace him.
All right, we'll bring you up to date with Dean Skifolitti's condition in just a tick. Paul Quinn, as Matthew said, on for South Sydney. And it's down to Robbie O'Davis. Catches it in his own end goal, gives it off to Tony Butterfield, who has been the returner of the football so far today and done it with great effect. He's out to the 20-metre line already. Here's Matthew Johns. The play from the dummy half has been very, very quick and incisive.
Yeah, you've got to put that down to the speed of the play of the ball. It's very, very quick, and Souths are having a lot of problems from that marker. They're indecisive from markers, and because of the speed of the play of the ball, they're not being able to stop the dummy half running.
Mark Landville with the ball after the pass from Robbie McCormack. Tyron Smith doing a power of work for South Sydney in defence, and he has to. By gee, he needs some help from some of his teammates.
Yeah, they're just a bit at 6s and 7s, but it really is those first 2 and 3 rucks and the yardage gains that's setting the whole scene up for the Knights.
Great kick.
Andrew Johns now has put everyone on side. And the kicking coach for the Newcastle Knights this year is none other than Neil Baker, who had a stint with the Rabbits.
Mind you, the kicks are a
It's gonna
lot
be
easier
interesting to see how
when you're
South
kicking them off
react
good
here.
go
I mean,
forward.
as we know, the
And as we've
Challenge
seen,
Cup,
the
they are
Knights
the
go forward.
champions.
It's very good at this
Reigning
stage.
champions with 20 minutes.
It's
It's going to be interesting to see. It's just now 20 minutes into this first half, how they can recoup, and there's no doubt that 20-minute football is a hell of a lot different to 40.
Matty Robert, one of the things about South Sydney, though, that they do have the capability of scoring plenty of points.
They sure do. They're a very enthusiastic side and like to throw it around a lot, but they can't afford to make mistakes like they've just did then. And on Dean Skipoletti, he copped a poke to the eye.
Matthew Robble, sideline.
Sorry, Matthew, what do you think of the Knights go forward at this stage?
Yes, very, very strong. Picking out the smaller defenders, the likes of Paul Harrigan and Mark Sutton, and running over the top of them and getting that quick play of the ball, which is so essential.
Some problems down on the sideline with Matthew Robble's microphone at the moment. Robbie McCormick now decides to go on his own, 25 metres out from the South Sydney line. Mark Landfill and the forward pass went forward, said referee Eddie Ward.
I think it's indiscretion. Incorrect play of the ball, from just in his haste to... We'll just have another quick look at it here. It's in Robbie's haste. He got a bit of a shove in the back, but the penalty's been given to South.
It's a 50-50 call, wasn't it? Could have gone either way.
So Mark Sargent now being called out by referee Eddie Ward, the captain of the Newcastle Knights. Maybe just to brief him on something that he has seen as far as play the ball is concerned. Your comments, gentlemen. The referees this year wired for sound. The touch judges are playing obviously a little bit more of an important part of the game.
A great innovation. We're in the technical age now of rugby league, and any assistance those guys in the middle can get, I think, is a great advantage for the game. And they're there to watch the back play and incidents at the play of the ball where the referee might be going back his 10 metres.
Yeah, I think it can only be a plus. We really must go forward, and any assistance, as Alan just said, that the refs can be given, let's give it to them, because it's a big money game. Crowds pay to see games. They don't like to see their teams lose on the whim of a ref or a small mistake that he missed.
Well, we saw it in Saturday's game, Brisbane and Parramatta. Controversy already in season 1994. Tyrone Smith with the ball now. Held up right on the halfway. Quinn. Thrown to the ground. 8 metres into Newcastle territory. Craig Field with the ball now. The little chip over the top for his runners. Shane Wilson it is. There is Robbie O'Davis. And he just manages to clean up on the 20-metre line. Jamie Ainscoe now. Out to Russell Wire. And good defence there right around the ankles by Paul Quinn. Ainscoe scampers away from dummy half. Absolutely frightens me the way that he carries the ball, Jamie Ainscoe, but he scored plenty of tries in season 93. Robbie O'Davis has picked up a little bit of Jamie Ainscoe's ball carrying skills there.
Interesting here, Mark Sargent's the first forward from the Knights that was involved in the go forward. All the rest of them were back. So in other words, they were giving the forwards a bit of time to get their second wind.
So that pass definitely forward, and the scrum will go down 42 metres out from the Newcastle Knights line. And there it is from Robbie McCormack. And Eddie Ward ruled that pass forward. Phil discreet, feed the scrum for South Sydney. Comes the short side to Mellor. The run around with Jason Bell. The wake up to that was Andrew Johns. Field. Now Paul Mellor. Big raps on this young winger from South Sydney.
He's had some very good games of late too, Mike. He's big and strong and quick.
Goldspink turns it into Doniger. Mark Glanville and Robbie McCormick, the tacklers for the Newcastle Knights. 30 metres out now. Mestrov runs into a wall of Newcastle Knights defenders, the same two, Glanville and McCormick. Workhorses for the Knights. McRae up in the line. Gives it to Hermanson. Hermanson still going forward. Good run by the big front rower. Last tackle now for Souths. McRae thought about the chip. Turns it back to Field. He puts it on the toe. Straight to Jamie Ainscoe. He's got some pace and did the right thing going to ground there because he could see the sideline looming up. Wire to Robbie O'Davis. Field missed him, but Quinn and Goldspink wrapped him up. Still 18 out from his own line. Wire now getting a little bit more involved. Formerly of Western Suburbs, there should be a good understanding between Jamie Ainscoe and Russell Wire, of course, former teammates at Western Suburbs. The Knights, 40 metres out from their own line now. Robbie McCormack. Knights players just standing in a little group, and Harrigan was easy meat.
Yeah, it was a sloppy play of the ball, and it all started from that.
To Andrew Johns now, with the kick. Trying to get away from McRae, but he had good position that time, the fullback. Picks it up pretty easy. Throws the pass out to Miller, and he's got some pace. Ainscoe's got him. And he's 42 from his own line. Now it's Penner. Takes it up. Field. Short ball to Goldsby. Right on the halfway now. South behind 15-0 with 15 minutes remaining in the first half. Quinn standing. Now he's put to ground by Muir and Harrigan. Come to the members' side, McRae trying to jink his way around, and the Newcastle Knights again caught offside. Field takes the quick tap. Harrigan still offside. Now they wrap Field up.
Oh.
And the crowd didn't like that at all.
No, I think you'll find Adam Muir was offside there.
A long pass out to Tyrone Smith. He sights a little gap, but a great tackle right around the ankles there. They still go the short side. Doniger it is. Matthew Johns the tackler, along with his brother Andrew. Souths now, what can they do here? $5 fine. 15 out. Field cuts out one to McRae. Now out to Bell. Bell trying to link up with Miller, but good defence there by Russell Wire. Last tackle now for the Rabbits. It's with Penner. Penner the chip kick. Came off a Knight's foot. 6 to go for the Rabbits. Paul Quinn is close. He's awfully close. 6 to go again, says referee Eddie Ward. McRae gives it to Miller, and Miller is in. A good sustained attack by the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Well, what we saw, Mike, got to trace that back to the second set of 6 that they had at them. They got a penalty from that. They then played the 6. They had a bit of luck in the bounce of that ball, which gave them another set of 6. Just the weight of possession finally told against Newcastle.
Yeah, just coming back to it. Yeah, just a changeover situation. The ball rebounding. They just took the ball to the line south, tried to set up. The Knights are all over the shop. And we'll see here just a little short ball from the dummy half. McRae and Miller it is. Too big, too strong and too close.
Here it is once again. It's David Penner just put it on the toe. It came off Adam Muir. Sargent definitely offside. Muir looked as though he got a bit of a cork there. Paul Quinn takes it within only centimetres of the line. Referee Eddie Ward at that stage signalled another 6 to go. And McRae gives a very, very good short ball here to Paul Miller, who was steaming through. Robbie McCormack moved up, and Miller just crashed over the line. So South Sydney hit back. Craig Field now stepping in to try and convert the Paul Miller try. Does so with relative ease. And South Sydney have hit back just before half-time. Matthew Rodwell, as we said, they have definitely got the ability to score points at will.
That's right, a good option by Craig Field by taking the quick tap, which put the Newcastle defence on the back foot. And as you said, Adam Muir looks in a bit of trouble with a problem to his thigh.
Russell Wire with a restart. And Richard Jones, how are we going with the stats in this first half?
Yeah, the scrums are pretty even at this stage. We've only had the couple. The penalties are 5-2 in favour of South. A telling factor is that the Knights have completed, by my estimations, about 5 of their sets, which is very, very good, and Souths have only completed 2. And that's showing on the scoreboard with 15 points to 6.
Terry Hermanson forced back by some solid Newcastle Knights defence in Harrigan and Butterfield. Bell, he scampers away from dummy half, but runs straight into the big fella Mark Sargent. And Adam Muir was there to lend assistance. Goes himself again, Field. Dangerous little player, loves to be involved in the game at every moment. McRae. Glanville went for the charge down. Robbie O'Davis and makes a meal of it, does he? No play on, says referee Eddie Ward. He might have got it on the half volley.
It'd be interesting to see the replay, but it looked a very spectacular catch.
Nathan Barnes in from the wing, looking for a little bit of work. One of his rare touches so far in this first half. Mark Glanville, he charges forward, and now the South Sydney side caught offside. And again, quick play of the ball puts the defending side under an enormous amount of pressure.
Yeah, it was funny. You know, from the kick reception, South Sydney played the ball on about the 15-metre line and came tackle 5, come the end of tackle 5, and they were just over the 40-metre line. So if you're comparing the go forward from both sides, Newcastle by far more dominant in that area.
19 metres out. Adam Muir with a restart to Mark Sargent. Good tackle right around the legs by Paul Quinn. McCormack gives it off to Harrigan. Still running a little bit sideways, the Chief. But by gee, he's only a couple of metres out. McCormack quickly to Matthew Johns. Matthew Johns held up. Good defence there by South Sydney. He's a couple of metres out. Robbie McCormack at dummy half again for the Newcastle Knights. Long pass to Robbie O'Davis. Now to Andrew Johns. He steps off the left. Still going forward is Andrew Johns. He's 5 metres out from the South Sydney line. Fourth tackle, Adam Muir. Switches play to Paul Harrigan. He's close, Paul Harrigan, but he's held up, I think, or has he got the ball down? Another try to Paul Harrigan. The Chiefs' second try in this first half. We were obscured there. It looked as though the South Sydney defence had him held up over the line, but we might be able to see it in replay. Paul Harrigan being able to get the ball down.
Yeah, it's a good call here from Paul. If you watch him to the right-hand side of your screen, the dummy half, Adam Muir, facing left, gets the call from Paul on the right, and he runs between the two fenders, and his size and his strength was too good for them, reaches over and puts the ball down. A very good try and very good eyes on behalf of Paul Harrigan to see it and call it, and good response from Adam Muir.
Yeah, Adam Muir was the one who responded in time, and the Chief just too big and strong.
Matthew, you'd hate to be tackling the Chief from that distance out, wouldn't you?
What a dream start. Both front rowers, 2 tries to Chief and 1 try to Sarge. What a dream start.
You won't hear the end of it though, will you?
Oh, no. These boys will be going on with that for the years.
And you can imagine probably mid-season they would have been from about 40 metres out.
Well, if you look at this stage, the boys are the top leading try scorers in the whole competition.
Andrew Johns now trying to make it 4 out of 4. Moves in. And it just sneaks in the right-hand upright, so he's having a tremendous game, Andrew Johns. 4 goals and 1 field goal, and the Newcastle Knights lead 21 points to 6. And Alan McMahon, if you have a try scored against you, the best way to hit back is score 1 yourself.
Well, that's the only way you can repay the favour. This will be interesting again to see how Newcastle do start from this particular fixed kick reception. They will kick it to the middle of the field. Butterfield will return it again. Interesting to see how far they do come.
Well, a little bit of a shorter one this time. Jamie Ainscough has got the ball for the Newcastle Knights. Jamie Corcoran must have heard you, Macca.
He probably did.
I'll get Alan McMahon here. Ainscough getting up very gingerly. Russell Wire with the ball now. About 9 from the halfway. Andrew Johns. Very deceptive step on both the Johns boys. Robbie McCormack. Towards the halfway, and the Moth is nearly through again. Having a great game, Robbie McCormack. Ooh. Another pretty ordinary play, the ball. Mark Glanville. What a player he's been the last 2 or 3 seasons for the Newcastle Knights. The last tackle now. Matthew Johns with the ball. He stabs it towards touch, but it's straight down to Paul Miller. The try scorer for South Sydney gets around 1. And finally, it's Tony Butterfield who affects the tackle. 18 from the halfway.
Nobody there for Mr. Field.
Craig Field now. Duncan McRae. Step off the left. Still going, Duncan McRae. Gets the ball back to Craig Field. Field now cuts out to Shane Wilson. They're willing to throw the ball around South Sydney. And during the Tui's challenge, that was one of the great things about South. They just kept that ball alive and played some very, very attractive football indeed. 8 short of the halfway now, the Rabbits. Goldspink, that's a better run by the big front rower. And a very good tackle by Paul Harrigan. Harrigan very involved in the game so far. 2 tries and plenty of defence. And a good tackle. And he made a meal of that too. Dropped the ball, Duncan McRae. Not seen. Play on last tackle now. Jason Bell. Flicks it out the back to Craig Field. Now to Quinn. Quinn to McRae. McRae out to Wilson. Wilson has got Mellor. Turns it back to Mellor. Throws it back inside to Quinn. Quinn now to Doniger. Keeping it alive for Rabbits. And made a knock on there. And the penalty goes to South Sydney.
Well, let's take it back to that play the ball before. They definitely lost the ball in the play the ball, and neither the touch judge who's wide for sound or the referee have picked it up. And here we have a situation where South are going for goal, so it could
Well, I think what he has said here, that the defender was held back. That the South Sydney player was held back before the ball got to him.
You wouldn't know. That's a bit of a mystery, that one. The end result is penalty to South.
But it should never have been.
That's right.
Now, are the touch judges wired for sound? Do they talk to the referee on those sort of things?
Yes, yes. To miss things in the play the ball and for back play incidents.
Here it is here. Duncan McRae's got the ball. Now, definitely comes away there.
He's lost the ball.
The touch judge surely is looking at the incident, or is he looking at back play?
He's looking at back play, and he's looking for incidents in the play of the ball where the referee can't physically make it because he's probably going back marking the 10.
Craig Field right across the face of goal. Nathan Barnes has got to get it back into the field of play, and he does very well to do so. So Craig Field 1 from 3 so far today. 5 minutes to go in the first half here at the Sydney Football Stadium. A pretty poor crowd in to see this first round fixture between South Sydney and Newcastle.
Any replacements yet for Newcastle, Matthew Rodwell?
Yeah, Stephen Crowe has just gone on to replace Anthony Butterfield. Stephen Crowe, number 40.
Jamie Ainscote still going. Still looking for yardage. Now Stephen Crowe, the man that Matthew Rodwell spoke about. Great tackle. Paul Quinn's made an impact for South Sydney since he's come on.
Yeah, he's a very good player. The thing about South is when they're getting those quicker men out from dummy half, such as Field, Bell and McRae, they're making good yards and they're making the Knights' defensive line go all over the shop. And that's what happened in the Tooheys Challenge, and it really proved a winner for them. They've only done it a couple of times here today, and it's also proved a winner. They're not doing it enough.
South now. Hermanson. Crowe the tackler, along with Harrigan. Field. Mestroff. Good solid tackle there by Adam Muir. Big hit. Field, no support, has to do it himself. Held up, right in front of the sticks, 15 out from the Knights line. Jason Bell switches play to Quinn, throws an ordinary looking pass to Mestroff. Now to Tyrone Smith, and he was well covered, got out of one, and now the defence wrap him up, force him back a few metres, 22 out from the Knights line. Goldspink with the ball now for the Rabbitohs, and he hits Crowe, and Crowe bounces off him. Last tackle now for the Rabbits. Fields Gambers looks for the chip kick in behind the defence. Barnes is there. The South Sydney defence coming across, and they'll wrap him up. So that is a good set of 6 to South Sydney.
Yes, it is, Mike, and it's funnily enough, if Craig Field's not involved for South Sydney, there's not too much adventure or enterprise, and he's very much the key for them, even from this kick. It was he who put the kick through. He's chased through as well. And Corcoran's taken him over, but Field's not far off the screen, actually, and if he's not involved, South's look pretty pedestrian.
A touch judge in. Referee Eddie Ward is going to give a penalty, is he? Or just talk to Adam Muir on that tackle on Tony Mestroff a few moments ago. It's only a little chat, and the Knights will have the drop out from underneath the goalposts. A pretty entertaining first half of football here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Newcastle 21 leads South Sydney 6. And Matthew Rodwell, the Knights hierarchy, would be very pleased to see Mark Sargent and Paul Harrigan get through a half a footy, and they've played pretty well.
They certainly have. They've taken the ball forward very well, but now they've got to lift their defensive game as South can sniff a try.
Mellor, 30 metres out from the Knights line, centre of the field. McRae gave a short ball away, and South are within 22 metres of the line. Bell, quick pass out to Tyrone Smith, who spends a fair bit of time out in the backs. He pushed off one, gave the pass straight to Bradley Godden, and South take the ball over the line. And in back play, I might have spoken too soon. Is that Mark Sargent? No, it's not. I think it might be Matthew Johns down on the ground. There is a player down. Here it is, Tyrone Smith. Here it is,
Oh,
Matthew
yeah.
Johns.
Matthew's copped an elbow straight to the side of the head.
Certainly unintentional.
Oh, yes, definitely unintentional. And Tyrone Smith's broken through. But watch him break down here. Look, all the good work that he did has just come undone, and that's just let the Knights off the hook.
So taken out by Bradley Godden. South's feed, South's win. Penner gives it out to McRae. They've got an overlap here. Shane Wilson. Wilson gives it to Mellor, and he drops
the ball
just before the line. No try, South Sydney. And the Newcastle Knights will get the restart at the 20. Well, Mellor had the line open for his second try.
Well, thank heaven for small mercies. But when you're playing drifting defence, you can't play it in your own quarter because you haven't got the room to fall back on. And they can thank their lucky stars there, because if South had got a try coming for half-time, it would have lifted them for the second half.
Yeah, scored that try before he got over the line, James.
I believe he might have, and it was just a matter of catch and place it. And as Alan said again, a minute 30 before half-time would have been very, very handy position for South to go in.
Coming off the field, Matthew Johns, a little bit of blood from the side of the head. Matthew Rodwell, that was a pretty hard elbow that he ran into of Tyrone Smith, and going on is another Smith, David Smith.
Yes, he sure was. David Smith on for Matthew Johns. Nathan Barnes to the centres. Bradley Godden to 5'8", and Smithy on the wing.
Matt, do we know if that's a blood bin or just a straight interchange?
Blood bin. They've checked it with the referee.
That's a few changes, Matthew, isn't it? 3 positional changes.
Yeah, there could be an unsettling effect, but with only a minute to go before half-time, it shouldn't have that too much of a problem.
And with the ball in, and with them in possession.
Robbie McCormick, they go the short side. Stephen Crowe, those big legs are pumping. Alan McMahon's favourite player, Steve Crowe.
He's a legend, that man, but Souths are waiting for them. Here they come again. Look at Adam Muir. He's run 10 metres before he's met the enemy. That's for a good quick play of the ball and hitting the ball with good timing.
Last tackle for the Newcastle Knights. They go the short side. Bradley Godden chips in behind the defence. There's plenty of pace on. Nathan Barnes, who got there first? We'll have to wait. No, it's play on, says the referee. And Duncan McRae did very well, but he's into the field of play. Over the touchline, but I think referee Eddie Ward has conferred with the touch judge, has he? No, he's going to put the scrum down.
No, he's playing the scrum. It's the Knights' feed. There's about 20 seconds left to play. The Knights will want to set this scrum quick because they've got another opportunity for registering on the scoreboard. What a great chase. Good kick from Bradley Godden. Very well chased by Nathan Barnes.
Nathan Barnes got some pace.
He has.
The scrum for the Newcastle Knights. A Newcastle Knights win. Godden gives it off to Nathan Barnes. Godden turns it back into the centre. Right in front of the sticks. There's 7 seconds of play to go in this first half. Mark Glanville. Glanville with a kick in behind the defence. Mellor is there and he'll clean up, or he nearly made a meal of it. And there's the half-time siren. So half-time here at the Sydney Football Stadium. A very entertaining first half of football too. The Newcastle Knights with tries to Mark Sargent and 2 to Paul Harrigan with 21 points. Andrew Johns 4 goals from 4 and 1 field goal. South Sydney 6 points on the board. Paul Miller a try. Craigfield 1 from 3. We'll be back with the second half in just a moment. Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium for the second half of this opening match of the Winfield Cup for 1994 for these two teams, South Sydney and the Newcastle Knights. The Newcastle Knights, the points on the board in the first half. They lead the South Sydney Rabbitohs 21 points to 6, and it was an impressive first half of football, Alan McMahon.
Very impressive from the Newcastle point of view. They controlled the ball, their go forward was good, their play the balls were quick, they hit holes, the Johns boys controlled the rucks very, very well. South, well, they got it all to do. If Craigfield doesn't seem to be involved, then nothing seems to happen for them. He's adventurous, and everything, as I said, that Souths do comes on the back of Craigfield.
Richard Jones, how did you see that first half?
The first 20 minutes very much dominated by the Knights. Their quick, smaller blokes were getting out from dummy half, creating a lot of havoc and a lot of yards. Then it seemed to just change a little bit and turn around. As Alan said, Craigfield started to do that, and McRae from dummy half for the south side. Then things started to happen for South Sydney. They'll rue that missed opportunity just prior to half-time, but I can only see the Knights continuing on from 21-6 and hopefully posting a lot more points.
Well, Matthew Johns still on the bench, letting the substitutions take a few moments, and I'm sure he'll be back. Matthew Rodwell, you went into the Knights dressing room. What did David Waite have to say at half-time?
That's right, David Waite just wanted the boys to go out there in the second half and control the tempo of the game. They've got the points on the board. They've just got to be steady and patient in this second half. They was a bit disappointed about the try that the South Sydney scored, because one of the aims of Newcastle this year is to be the best defensive team in the competition. Unfortunately, it wasn't allowed in the South Sydney dressing shed.
Matthew, also David Waite said that they wanted to try and average 14 points a game. Well, he's away to a flying start.
Oh, absolutely. With the two front rowers running amok there in the try-scoring department, things have gone very well.
Mark Landville now as we get underway in the second half. They're running in the southerly direction and be running into a little bit of a stiff breeze, but as Matthew Rodwell said at the start of the game, a bit of a swirling breeze here at the Sydney Football Stadium, and shouldn't really have any effect on their attacking capabilities, but one player being called out already, and I think it is Darren Maroon who is on for South Sydney. Darren Maroon, number 41, being called out, and I think the new rule will apply here. We might have a look as the replay happens here. Once the player is lifted off the ground, now does Darren Maroon, well, he's in the old Christmas old, as Jonesy would say, yes, off the ground. Now, the referees are going to be very heavy on that this year, Alan McMahon.
Well, so they should be. It's a dangerous tackle, isn't it? And as we've seen in the past, they do crack down on it. I just hope they do in the future.
Andrew Johns finding touch, and Mark Landville with the restart. Mark Sargent, scorer of a first half try. Paul Quinn, Darren Maroon, the tacklers for South Sydney. Nathan Barnes looking to inject himself into the play from Penrith for a new start at the Newcastle Knights. Oh, there's a high tackle by Tyron Smith, but it won't stop Paul Harrigan, or will it?
It wouldn't have done him much good, I don't think.
That was a fairly high shot from Tyron Smith. Here it is again on replay. There it is up around, maybe
right
just
on
off the shoulder.
Right on the chin.
Didn't miss him.
Collared him all right.
Glanville, short ball out to Russell Wire. Jason Bell stopping Wire's progress. Last tackle now for the Newcastle Knights. They're 30 metres out. The ball goes to Andrew Johns. High in the air, a bit of a floater. Duncan McRae in good position, takes it well. Jamie Ainscough is up quickly. And a good tackle there right around the ankles by his opposite number in Robbie O'Davis. Paul Mellor with the ball and some solid defence. They carry him back, but he gets his arms free and delivers the pass. Good play there by Paul Mellor. So I'd say that the instructions from the South Sydney camp are get the ball going at all opportunities. Maroon, Crow the tackler. As they work it out of their own area. 25 out. Now McRae. Good run. Good step off the left. Just collared there by Steve Crow. Stopped his progress. Craig Field now. To Paul Quinn. Carrying Robbie McCormick with him. Nearly got the pass away to Bell. Quinn's been very impressive since he came on midway through the first half. Field goes deep. Sees that no one is in any real position for the Newcastle Knights. David Smith coming back now with Robbie O'Davis. And that's a better kick and chase by South Sydney.
Was a good kick. They completed their set of 6, well chased, and look where the ball is now, right on the Knights line, tackle 2.
So Robbie O'Davis trying to run it out from his own area. Bradley Godden, short ball to David Smith, sights a little hole, but it closed quickly. Ainscoe.
That's that angle that Harrigan should be running, coming back into the ruck, giving himself the option of ducking in behind or just fading away as he did then.
Oh.
And the scrum will go down. I think you'll find that Chief just lost that on his own.
I think he did
so
too.
Matthew Robble, maybe a little bit of tiredness creeping into Paul Harrigan.
Oh, there could be, but he's just had a 10-minute spell. It might have been a bit of a hand in there. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure Chief will give it his best till the time comes where he'll be replaced.
Yep, well, we're just watching it, and he dead set lost it.
Might still be that effects of the Tyron Smith tackle over the other side too. And the penalty goes to the Newcastle Knights. Now that may have actually impeded South, but Craigfield again takes the quick tap and a great tackle there by Andrew Johns. McRae out to Mestrov. Picked off there by Mark Sargent. The Knights desperate in defence at the moment. McRae goes to the open side. Hermanson quickly out to Maroon. Maroon to Wilson. Wilson sights a little gap, but it closes and he's tackled 11 metres out from the Knights line. McRae a dummy half now for the Rabbitohs. Craigfield with the ball again. It nearly opened up, but closed quickly. He got his arms free. Quinn with the ball. Quinn can't get his arms free to deliver the pass. They're still about 8 metres out, the Rabbits. McRae a dummy half again. Long pass out to Penner. Penner quickly to Hermanson. He drops the ball and forced back a few metres by the Newcastle Knights. Wasn't expecting that ball, Hermanson. They go the short side. Doniger, Field quickly out to Penner. They've got a score here. Cochrane's in for South Sydney. Well worked try to the Rabbits. And the Rabbits are right back in the ball game after 5 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, again, the weight of possession. A couple of sets of 6 attacking the Knights. Let's have a look at this go on the replay. I think you'll find it's Craig Field coming from the open side of the ruck to the short side of the ruck. There he is. He's got the ball now. He takes it to the defence line, takes it across to David Penner. And then Penner draws David Smith perfectly and leaves the line open for Jamie Corcoran to finish it off. Well executed.
Yeah, very good play. Last tackle play. Nothing there, just turning it to Field. As you say, Field's got to be involved. He possibly shaped the kick. McCormick come out of the line. Penner, very good unders play there. How important is that missed try just prior to half-time now for South Sydney?
So South Sydney right back in the ball game. Matthew Robble, a well-worked try for the Rabbits.
Yes, Craig Field showing the value of running it on the last there. And this is a very important conversion here. It brings them within 11 points, and 2 converted tries will put South in front, but they've still got a lot of work in front of them to do.
So Craig Field in everything at the moment. He's the master of attack, and he's also taking the goal-kicking duties. He's 26, 27 metres out, a half a metre in from touch. We've got a bird's eye view of this one. Has 1 from 3 so far today, Craig Field. This to draw them another 2 points closer to the Newcastle Knights. Steps in, hits it pretty well, but it's going to pull up pretty short. And no conversion there, so 1 from 4 for Craig Field, and the score remains 21 points to 10. 42 out from the try line. Hermanson makes about 5. McRae filling the role at dummy half. Mestrov runs into trouble. Somehow flicks the ball away and the Knights are back in possession. Well, really, as you said, Alan, one of these sides has got to settle down, and maybe it's Mark Glanville who's away. Quinn's got him now. Glanville takes play within 38 metres of the South Sydney line. Jamie Ainscoe now bursts onto the ball, bursts through the first line of defence. 25 metres out, the Newcastle Knights. McCormick at dummy half now. Adam Muir stands, gets the ball to McCormack. Throws the little dummy, throws another dummy. He's close, Robbie McCormack.
Right.
Oh, sensational individual try, Robbie McCormack. Well, that's a try that was made out of absolutely nothing. And I should imagine Bobby McCarthy would be right off his trolley. The South Sydney defence just fell apart. Robbie McCormack found a couple of holes and danced through to score adjacent to the post.
Robbie's played off the off-road from Adam Muir, but the person to watch here is the fullback from South's Duncan McRae. Now, the first rule of the fullback is that you don't stand still when the opposition's coming at you. And here, watch Robbie here. See Duncan McRae, his feet are planted on the ground. He's got no chance of stopping Robbie. Very poor positional play, and I'm sure that he'll get some tuition during the week.
Well, you're never dead in this game, and Robbie McCormack's fed across. Adam Muir, good play. Pass it back inside to Robbie, who's, where am I going to go? Here, this will do me. Step off the right, big step. Felt the ground shake, and he just took off, and he knew where he wanted to go. Duncan McRae, as you said, was no chance once he planted his heels. Great try. It's been a blunderathon until now, and that might just create the assertiveness that the Knights need to carry on this game.
Matthew, has Robbie been taking some tuition from the Johns boys?
I think Robbie's been taking some tuition from Chief and Sarge. It's the front row have scored all the tries today, an impressive performance. Also, Souths did not take the opportunities when Newcastle presented them to them.
So the Newcastle Knights, through Robbie McCormack, stretched their lead now to 27 points to 10. As Jamie Corcoran once again starts for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, it's down to Robbie O'Davis, and he decides to run it out himself and nearly gets through a hole too, Robbie O'Davis. Good return of the footy. Bradley Godden now. Taps it forward, does Robbie O'Davis, and makes another 10 metres. Good run from the fullback. McCormack now. Glanville. The power of the Newcastle forward starting to take over McCormack. Quick hands here to Andrew Johns. Good defence, though, by Tyron Smith, who has probably been one of South's better players. That was Shane Wilson on that occasion. Stephen Crowe now, getting those legs pumping. Takes on the South's defence, and they were equal to the task on that occasion. But the Newcastle Knights working their way into South's territory. Muir had the chance of throwing that pass to Harrigan. Ball on the ground. Knock on, says referee Eddie Ward. And the scrum will go down 38 metres out from the South's line. The Knights really looking to keep that ball alive at every opportunity.
Adam Muir's coming into his own a lot here, Mike. He's starting to offload quite a lot. He's going to cause Souths more problems because he's got good footwork, he's very strong, and he's standing in a lot of tackles and offloading, and the Knights will play behind that.
South's very deep. Forging forward is Mark McGaw, who was on for South Sydney, formerly of Cronulla and Penrith, an international, a great centre when he's fully fit, had an horrendous run of injuries. Filled again. McRae turns it back inside to Smith. Smith stands in the tackle, looking to offload. Cannot do so. Gee, strong for a youngster.
Yes,
and now that's got to be a penalty.
Well, I think Bradley just wore the patience out of the referee there.
Now that might have been the situation where the touch judge has alerted to referee Eddie Ward of that situation. Bradley Godden.
Oh.
And finally, the penalty is given to South Sydney.
Well, let's see how South can convert. They spent virtually the first 15 minutes camped in Knights territory and couldn't convert points.
Doniger, very flat.
Yeah,
Easy pickings for the defence.
That was a poor timed run from a tap penalty.
It's happened a couple of times to Sarge too. Here's Paul Quinn. Good run. He's been one of South's better players. Jason Bell at dummy half. Switches the other side of Goldspink. Better run by the big front rower. Brought down about 15 metres out from the Newcastle Knights line. Bell to Field, the playmaker. Now to McRae. That's Penner, I should say. And still about 15 metres out from the Knights line.
Great
Bell at
tackle
dummy
from
half.
Adam Muir.
Field. A long ball out. Ainscough toes it through. Can he keep it towed on? He can. Can he pick it up now? Jamie Ainscough. South Sydney's defence, and a long ball out to Nathan Barnes. A brilliant ball by Jamie Ainscough. That covered 30 metres, that pass.
He lost the ball in the tackle.
The ball, knock on. But adventurous bit of play by the Knights.
Good work from Jamie Ainscough. Unfortunately, he was just running across field when he's picked the ball up.
If this kick here had gone straight instead of skewing off his leg sideways, I think it was a 6-pointer. But good play. Here we watch him pick it up in flight. Good skills there.
Look at this
Sees
pass.
Nathan Barnes. Spears it out. Good defence there from the South fella just to stay on Barnes, and unfortunately come loose.
So Mark Sargent on the bench for the Newcastle Knights. Going on Tony Butterfield. So Matthew, Mark Sargent just having a breather?
Just having a breather. Robbie McCormack is in charge out there, and Mark McGaw went on for Tony Hermanson in the South Sydney side.
Sarge looked as though he's blowing a little bit there too. Now McGaw. Cut out pass to Paul Miller. Jamie Ainscoe and Russell Wire doing the defence for the Newcastle Knights. But Miller, a strong lad, he was able to still carry them 5 or 6. Now here's Quinn again to field. The defence moved up very quickly. Harrigan missed him. It was a wild swing over the top from the Chief. Field was very wise to duck that one. Penner with a kick now. It's high in the air. Robbie O'Davis is there. The defence is coming through. O'Davis takes it superbly. Gets on his feet again. Makes a couple, and there is a South player hurt in the background too. I think it's Doniger. He was hurt as he attacked Robbie O'Davis.
Well, actually, he's collided with another South player, the fullback for South. I think it was Duncan McRae.
Here's the replay.
Good charge there from Crow on the kicker.
We're back to live action. Andrew Johns wanting a quick play the ball from the Knights. Tony Butterfield taking it straight up now, taking on the smaller men of South Sydney. That was Jason Bill, and Field having to do the defensive work. Matthew Johns turns it inside to Stephen Crow, and a great tackle right around the ankles by Jason Bell. Last tackle now. They go the short side. Robbie McCormick again gets his arms free, and a brilliant ball over the top to Russell Wire. Jamie Ainscoe drops it over the line.
Didn't Robbie McCormack play very well to the lead up of that? Let's have a look at that on the replay.
Well, one apiece. Here it is, Robbie McCormack just cutting everyone out.
Pulls it back, passes it late. Matthew Johns very well, over to Russell Wire, positions his winger. Oh.
Took his eyes off the
and
football.
Jamie Ainscoe and Paul Miller will be kicking themselves. They should have scored a try apiece in this game and dropped the ball with the line inside. But Robbie McCormack is having a wonderful game for the Newcastle Knights. The Knights lead 27-10. There's 20 minutes to go in the match here at the Sydney Football Stadium. McRae got a ball away. Bell now to Penner. Penner sights a little gap. It closed quickly. 12 from the halfway. South's Field spears one out to Smith. Smith pushes off Bradley Godden. He's got some pace too. Nathan Barnes came at him. Good chase by the winger for the Newcastle Knights. But Tyron Smith has been in everything today. Corcoran, Mestrov. Mestrov gives a short ball to Quinn. Good defence there. He's on the ground. 18 metres out. Last tackle coming up for the Rabbitohs. Now here's Field. Field doesn't know where to go. Finally sticks it in the air. And he'd just about be able to catch it from where he kicked it. And Robbie O'Davis takes it superbly for the Newcastle Knights. A little bit of a wasted opportunity for South.
Yeah, I think Craig ran out of options there. All his other players were in front of him. So he had no real option rather than to kick it. And Robbie O'Davis, eyes on the ball, very well taken.
Matthew Rodwell, we talk about four-quarter footballers to two-half football, and I think a few players are starting to breathe a little bit heavily out there.
Yeah, the South Sydney players haven't played a two-halved game of football this season, so it's probably starting to tell now in this later 20 minutes.
So the Newcastle Knights work it up towards the halfway. Robbie McCormick once again. Now it's back to Andrew Johns, kicking for the touchline on this occasion. But it's straight down to Duncan McRae, who had made good field position, and he tries to take on the defence and nearly threw him and thrown it a touch. That's poor play in the end.
It was poor play.
Good play, Bradley Godden.
Yes, yeah, I think you've got to look at the positive side there, and it was a great tackle by Bradley Godden. He knew where the sideline was. Duncan McRae still learning. He's got a lot to learn. He shows a lot when he's around the football, around the ruck areas, but his positional play and being able to be where the sideline is. That was the first tackle. That's a no-no in this game.
Yeah, a lot of people have been commenting on how Brad Godden wouldn't go in the centres. I suppose it hasn't been a shining game for the backs in any way, but it's been a very good defensive display from Bradley.
Big step by Matthew Johns, nearly through the hole once again. Tyron Smith, the defender. Mark Lanville, quick play the ball for the Newcastle Knights. Adam Muir steps out of one, brushes off another one, and brought down 18 metres out from the South Sydney line. The Newcastle Knights, a real chance here to wrap up the match. Matthew Johns steps off the right once again, throws the ball to Robbie McCormick, quickly to Mark Glanville. Glanville gives it off to Darren Tracy, who was on the field for the Newcastle Knights. Darren Tracy's first touch of the footy. Now Andrew Johns sights a little hole himself. He's close, he reaches out. That's a try to Andrew Johns. Brute strength from the little halfback, and that's a good reward for a great game in his Debut match for the Newcastle Knights in first grade. Andrew Johns scores the try, and that should wrap it up for the Knights.
Well, let's have a look at this in the replay. There didn't seem to be a great deal on. Paul Harrigan runs the decoy a little bit early. His timing was off. Watch Andrew Johns here. He comes to the line. There's not a great deal on. Steps with his strength. A low tackle, 2 low tackles from the South defenders. Reaches over, scores the try.
Just total strength as we watch Harrigan there just fade through. The South defence just moves laterally and it doesn't come forward at all, and that's where they get into trouble. But great strength from the young fella to carry a couple of the biggest South guys over the line, and a very, very well-deserved try.
Well, Matthew Robble, Andrew Johns restoring the faith in the backs to score tries.
He sure is. He's deceptively strong for his size, and he proved it there. But congratulations to him in his first game in first grade, as Darren Tracy also is making his debut.
So the number 7's doing well. Andrew Johns now trying to make it 6 out of 6. He's already kicked a field goal plus scored a try. Moves in, strikes it well. 6 from 6, and Andrew Johns has certainly got to be in the running for the Just Jeans man of the match here at the Sydney Football Stadium this afternoon. The Newcastle Knights 33 lead South Sydney 10.
It's really going to be a test of courage and character here for the South Sydney side as they kick off again. It's just a matter of the time winding down and seeing how many more points I suppose the Knights can score.
And of course, during our rugby league season of 1994, NBN is going to give you the opportunity to also get in the money and win some prizes with our Friday night football 0055 competition, Tooley's Football Trivia. And our first question was asked on Friday night, who is the current holder of the Winfield Cup? And of course, that is the Brisbane Broncos. And our winner this week, and a winner of $300 worth of power tools from Tool Specialists in Newcastle, Natalie Bryson of 56 Sandy Beach Drive. And the Newcastle Knights are about to score another try. We'll come back to that. Jamie Ainscoe very close and can't reach out to score the try. A great attacking move for the Newcastle Knights again. Adam Muir goes himself, scores the try, Adam Muir, and the Newcastle Knights are certainly on a roll. Adam Muir, but that was well orchestrated, well down the field, once again by the Newcastle Knights, and Adam Muir just deserts today, scoring a try, and the Fords are at it again. Let's go back, Macca.
Mate, there's a good pass here. Robbie McCormack's been instrumental today. He gets the ball out there to Russell Wire. Watch Russell Wire through the line. Turns it back inside Adam Muir. Adam takes Craig Field aside, slips it back into Jamie Ainscoe. I thought Jamie might have got home here. Duncan McRae just stops him, just that much, stops his progress. Craig Field stops him just very much short of the line. Adam Muir, dummy half, and just dives over from dummy half. A simple try in the end. Let's watch it.
So here he is, he just picks up the ball from there. The defence moved out, and that was Paul Quinn, and he was through the gap, Richard James.
Yeah, just a matter of numbers here. Just come up with too few people on the line in that spread situation, and South couldn't cope.
So congratulations to Natalie Bryson of 56 Sandy Beach Drive, Sandy Beach. I believe that's up near Coffs Harbour somewhere. You've won $300 worth of power tools from Tool Specialists, and we'll give you another chance next Friday night in Friday Night Footy. Here's Andrew Johns trying to make it 7 from 7. Not a problem from the youngster. He's having a whale of game, and the Newcastle Knights stretching their lead now to 39 points to 10. And David Waite said, Matthew Robble, they wanted to try score more than 14 points. Well, he'd have to be happy with this performance.
Oh, most certainly. The boys have laid the foundations very much so in the first half, and now they should look forward to throwing the ball around a bit more and possibly scoring a few more tries towards the end of the game.
I reckon we keep saying young Andrew Johns has had a very, very impressive debut, but for mine, Robbie McCormack's been the player. He's really created yards. He's created everything from dummy half. All their yards plays, their meterage has been gained from those quick darts from dummy half.
We just saw on the screen then a fairly despondent Bob McCarthy. Mark Landful pushes off Jeremy Doniger. Now they wrap him up. But the Knights, there he is, Bobby McCarthy.
Bobby knows that it's not far from the penthouse to the basement in this game.
The fairly big bubble that South were riding on top of has burst, and they're all over the shop.
Robbie McCormack, Adam Muir, nearly through the gap again, Adam Muir. Desperate defence by South Sydney. Now it's Matthew Johns to Tony Butterfield. And they're turning into the defence to looking to unload at every opportunity.
Well, they've earned that. From the dominance, look at this Paul Harrigan.
Right. So that platform they set.
Yeah, they've earned the right to offload now. And
Matthew Johns.
Souths are having problems even just regrouping, getting behind the football. Oh, good ball.
Great pass to Bradley Godden. Godden now gives it to Nathan Barnes, steaming for the line. Desperate defence by South Sydney. He's about 3 metres short. Great ball, though. Here it is, Andrew Johns once again. Gives the ball off to his brother, who flick passes it on to Robbie McCormick. And play on, says referee Eddie Ward. Goals being in possession for South.
Souths couldn't get back on side from the play of the ball. They were offside. They impeded the Newcastle attackers.
Yeah, it was physically impossible.
Number 22 is on for South Sydney, and that's Jason Hedges. Goldspink slowly plays the ball. Hedges gives it off to Quinn. Darren Tracy, the tackler. Souths have lost a little bit of spirit too, and I suppose when you're 29 points behind, it's pretty easy to do. Long pass now from McRae to Miller. Russell Wire and Jamie Ainscoe combined to bring him down just short of the halfway. Last tackle now for the Rabbits. Just over 10 minutes to go. Oh, forward pass by half a yard. Doniger has got the ball, throws the ball right behind Mark McGaw. Somehow Corcoran keeps it in play. Still going, gives it off to McGaw. And the Knights are away. Adam Muir, Craig Field, and finally McGaw comes back to ground him.
But gee, picking this man of the match for us is going to be very difficult, Mike. The Knights have been served by some very good performances out there today. Robbie McCormack, as Richard said, Adam Muir, the Johns brothers. It's going to be very difficult.
Robbie O'Davis, Mark Landfill now.
There's only one answer, fellas. We'll just share it between ourselves.
Tyron Smith makes the tackle right on halfway. And I've been impressed with his performance today too, Tyron Smith. Harrigan. There's Jason Bell trying to stop the progress of the Big Chief.
What's the play of the ball, big fella?
That's a better one. Now here's Darren Tracy, looking to inject himself into the match. Steps out of one, a good run by the former centre. Last tackle now for the Knights. They're looking to run the ball again. Oh, Robbie O'Davis just chips it to himself. Picked up by Paul Miller. Miller has got some pace now. Robbie O'Davis chasing him right across. Oh, great chase. Great chase, Robbie O'Davis.
He persisted, didn't he? And he got his man.
Mark McGaw to Goldspink.
I think if he just had held on with that chip a little bit longer.
Yes, he just didn't take it far enough or close enough to the opposition.
Hedges. Field trying to do it on his own. Robbie O'Davis, dead set, got in the way then. And the penalty given. I don't think you disagree with that one, Matthew Rodwell.
No, Robbie, a bit over-enthusiastic there after that great chase to run down Paul Miller. But Chief has come off and Sarge is back on.
That was pretty good vision from Craig Field to see that. He only had one play.
He sure did. There was no fullback at home.
That's right.
And it was good vision. The chip was probably a bit too deep in the end, but and unfortunately for him, Robbie Davis got in the road.
So Craig Field finding touch for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So South, really the last throw of the dice now. 9 minutes to go. They trail by 29. They've really have to score a lot of points very, very quickly to even get this scoreline to a respectable scoreline. Hedges at dummy half. Field, he hasn't given up the ghost. Tyron Smith, good tackle. Field will score the try. And that's well deserved to the young halfback. He has not given up trying all day, Craig Field. A fortuitous try in the end, but I don't think anyone here today, and there's a reasonably small crowd, would deny him the try that he's just scored.
No, Mike, I think we've said all game that if Craig Field doesn't do anything, then South look very pedestrian, very fortuitous. Look at his reflexes. Kicked it, came off the legs, picked it up and ran straight around, get as close to the post as he can. He deserved it. He has been South today.
Yeah, persistence from the little fella. He just took it upon his own bat. His reflexes were very good skills, and as a wise old bloke once said to me, never give up, never give in. Craig Field, thoroughly deserved.
Matthew Rodwell, Paul Harrigan would be pretty pleased with his game here today.
Down on the sideline with Paul Harrigan. Chief, a good start of the season.
It's a good start of the season, although that try, this is a little bit disappointing. Our defence has been good. The tries they've scored has been fairly weak, I think, but the intensity and the spirit that we showed to start the game with set the scene for us. We completed about 82% in the first half, Matty, which will be pretty happy, and which we know is very good for us. Start of the season, all three grades, we're very happy, although no more points to be scored against us will make us even more happy.
What about your try-scoring efforts?
I was hoping you'd ask me about that. What about that, Rabbits, 2 tries, mate? Get used to it. I enjoyed it.
Okay, back to you, Mike.
Well, he's a character if nothing else. I'll have to have a chat to him about that one, Alan McMahon.
Yeah, get used to it, he told you. You want to remind him of that on Thursday night.
It's good to see, and Matthew Rodwell, his first sit on the sidelines, has done exceptionally well. He's propping. Of course, Matt, the wet weather is yet to come. It's very pleasant down there today, but the wet weather's yet to come.
Thanks, mate.
39-14, the Newcastle Knights lead over the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Great kick-off.
And that was a little bit close to the sideline from to the post for Duncan McRae. Doniger runs it out, and he's ended up making some pretty good yards for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. 6 minutes to go.
I suppose it'll be pleasing for the Rabbitohs staff now to see how these guys do finish the game off. They've got the chance to gain a bit of respectability and probably a few points.
Paul Mellor.
I think the Rabbitohs staff would be in disarray like their players at the moment. They wouldn't have expected this.
Craig Field looking to throw the long cut-out pass. In the end, it went to Tyrone Smith, and he left it behind him. But to his credit, he had to stop and turn around and catch it. Hedges to Quinn. Goldspink in support, can't get the arms free to deliver the pass. Last tackle now. Here's Field again. Goes for the kick deep into Knights territory. Didn't come off, and Robbie O'Davis is to return the footy. Good tackle, good solid defence by South Sydney. They probably needed some of that a little bit earlier. Jamie Corcoran wants to go on with it, of course. Had a stint with the Newcastle Knights, Jamie Corcoran.
I think he's had a few clubs too, Mike. I think Canterbury, Newcastle, Balmain, now South Sydney.
Andrew Johns stepped off the left beautifully, dragged the defence another 4 or 5. Getting up to play the ball now, Robbie McCormack. Matthew Johns, Mark Sargent. He'll be pretty pleased to walk away from the Sydney football match as captain of this side. Matthew Johns turns it back inside to no one in particular. Robbie McCormack ended up picking it up. And 6 to go, says referee Eddie Waters. South Sydney hand in there. So McCormack gets up to play it. Butterfield. He barges forward another 4 or 5 metres. McCormack at dummy half once again. Matthew Johns now. Mark Landfield thought about the pass. Good tackle right around the ankle by Hedges for South Sydney. Right in front of the goalpost, 18 metres out from the South Sydney line. They go to the eastern side. Matthew Johns gives the ball to Mark Sargent, looking for number 2, looking to get the ball away, couldn't do so.
There's no one on his hip there.
Johns. Cut out pass to Robbie O'Davis, flicked over the top to Nathan Barnes and gone forward, said referee Eddie Ward. And the crowd give him the raspberry down there on the 10-metre line.
There's a good ball here promoted from Andrew Johns to Robbie O'Davis, who ran in the hole very well and just floated it forward.
Might have floated forward that one.
Yep. I also had a look to think if Robbie, did he need to pass that ball? But yes, I think he did because he was being taken by a defender about 2 metres short.
Some enterprise with only 4 minutes to go. Craig Field to feed the scrum for South Sydney. McGaw pushes off one, but finally his progress is halted by Mark Landfill. There was a fair bit of discussion whether McGaw would come straight back into first grade in place of this bloke, but Shane Wilson hasn't done too many things wrong out in the centres this afternoon.
But he's had a very fair game, actually. His first idea in that instance would have been the best to turn the ball back inside, but however...
Big tackle by McRae, but doesn't he unload the ball well when he's in... Here's a chance for the Newcastle Knights. Toe forward by Andrew Johns. Can he score his second? Yes! Great try, Andrew Johns. Gee, you blokes are going to have a tough job with a Just Jeans Man of the Match award. He scores his second try of the afternoon. He's kicked 7 from 7 and a field goal. Andrew Johns, what a debut match for the Newcastle Knights.
Jolly on the spot here, look at this. I think it's kicked through originally. Is it by Bradley Cotton? No, young Andrew's kicked it through. And he's gone toe-to-toe. Is that Craig Field on his left-hand shoulder?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yep, and he scored. It's a good try, and as you say, all the points that he scored, he's had a very fine match.
Yeah,
here it is again.
Wide ball there from Craig Field. Just, that's the luck that the Souths have had today. Been forced upon. Brad Godden was happy to bounce on it, but Andrew Johns said, no way, son, I'm going to tow this through. And I really think that's possibly sealed that great Just Jones award for Andrew. That really is a fine display. Not that I'm making any decisions on my own.
Fair dinkum. Jonesy's gone from Robbie McCormack as a lay-down misere. Now he's talking about Andrew Johns.
Well, that's not a bad effort from the kid. If he kicks this, we'll give it to him.
Is that your number 7 jumper, Matthew?
He's got that well and truly sewn up. Fine debut. 7 from 7 and 2 tries. Soon to make it 8 from 8.
You'd want to kick it much closer than this to try to keep your record intact, though. But the way he's playing today, this probably won't be a problem. He's 19 and 7/8 metres out from the try line. One in from touch, strikes it. It's go! Oh, what a sensation! That's hit the post. Fair dinkum, what a kick from Andrew Johns. 7 out of 8, and it was home for all money there for a moment. But the Newcastle Knights lead 43 points to 14. Comprehensive. 43 points to 14 victory to the Newcastle Knights. Going through the scoreboard. Tries. Going through the scoreboard. Tries 2 of a piece to Andrew Johns and Paul Harrigan. Robbie McCormick scored a try, Adam Muir and also Mark Sargent. Andrew Johns kicked 7 from 8 plus a field goal for their 43 points. For South Sydney, Paul Mellor, Jamie Corcoran and Craig Field scored tries. Craig Field kicked 1 from 5.
Well, there's not too many people that have had debuts in first grade and Winfield Cup like Andrew Johns had today. Andrew, congratulations on a magnificent game.
Thanks, mate. It was good playing behind the forwards today. They went forward, and it's good having Matt beside me.
Gave that impetus early in the game, the forwards, with all that go forward, wasn't it?
Yeah, like Truth said through the week, we've got to go out and go full ball flat out and match their enthusiasm. That's what won them the Challenge Cup. So the forwards went out and they won it for it in the first 20 minutes.
Tremendous having your brother alongside you. Must have given you a lot of confidence in first grade today.
Yeah, mate, he helped out a lot. He jumped in first reserve and called all the shots, and I sat back, so that helped me out a lot.
Well, Andrew, on behalf of Just Jeans, please accept the Just Jeans Man of the Match, $250 worth of clothing from Just Jeans. And Matty Rodwell said it won't go astray.
Oh, come on, throw away the stubbies.
Andrew, congratulations on a magnificent game.
Thanks, mate.
Andrew Johns, our Man of the Match. A great start for the Newcastle Knights in season 1994 with a great win over the South Sydney